Good evening. This time I'd like to call the November 12th, 2008 Planning and Zoning Commission meetings to order. At this time I'd entertain let the record show that all members are present, and at this time I'd like to entertain a motion to amend the agenda to swear in new members, please.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Michael Marchand, seconded by Page. Any opposition? Motion carries. All right, Mr. Parrington, please, sir.
Yeah. That's it. Oh, Steve, that's right.
You're reappointed, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You can do on plan and end zone, right?
Yes, planning and zoning. Do you swear or affirm to abide by the rules and regulations of Ascension Parish with respect to the laws and regulations of planning and zoning?
I do.
I do. Thank you and congratulations. All right, this time I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes, but there is one revision I'd like to say. It's not Lawrence Wells, it's Luther Wells. So if you would modify it to show Luther Wells. Any other modifications, revisions?
Motion for approval with correction.
Thank you. Motion by Sherry Slyman. Second. Seconded by Michael Marchand. Any opposition? Motion carries. This time I'd like to open up the floor for public comment period. Any member of the audience wishing to come forward and speak on any item not on the agenda, please come forward and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. No one wishing to come forward. Public comment period is closed. Item number 5, public hearing for granting approval to the following family petition. The Ted Mayon Jr. property, tracks 1A and 1B. Yes, sir.
James Falgu, representing Mr. Don and Ms. Shirley Grant on the following family partition. Asking the Commission for approval.
Commissioners have any questions or comments? I got one. Why does Timothy DeSalle need to sign this?
Because where the utility servitude is, we're putting 6 foot of it on his property.
So this
6
is
of it's going to be on Ms. Grant's property.
a new servitude then?
Yeah.
Okay.
The power lines and all go down that property line, so they decided to split it.
Their existing power line? Okay. Any questions, comments by commissioners? None at this time. I'd like to open up the floor for public hearing. Any member of the audience wishing to come forward and comment, please come forward. You have 3 minutes to talk. Public hearing is closed. Commissioners, comments, questions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Julio Dumas for approval, seconded by Paige Becknell. Any opposition? Motion carries. Item number 5B, Sterling Roberts family petition, lots 2A, 2B.
My name is Scott Lobell with Lobell Engineering and Land Surveying, and tonight I'd like to respectfully request your approval on the family partition of Lot 2 into Lots 2A and 2B, and I will do my best to answer any questions you may have.
I didn't have any questions, but I did have a comment. I did notice that you did add the additional servitude, and I called Charles and I asked Charles if that had been approved. Charles, did you find out for sure the number of lots versus serviced?
It was 6, I think, lots altogether.
But there was a question of where...
It was approved, yes.
It was approved, okay. So I'm glad that was already done. We didn't have to worry about that, so thank you.
Any other questions, comments this time? Hearing none, I'd like to open up the floor for public hearing. Any member of the audience want to come forward and comment, please come forward, state your name, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Sharon, Delight Calm. I have a problem. He's saying there is a servitude road of 40 foot. It is not a servitude of 40 foot. It's only a 20-foot servitude road.
Okay. You're talking about going out to the,
On the Irene Delight Road.
right, okay. Well, we'll ask him as soon as we get all the comments. We'll question him on it.
He wants, part of our property, and
State your name, please.
Anastasia Deslite,
Okay.
which I have like 3A, 3B, I think, or 3A. And if I give him any more of my property, it's gonna be right there at my bedroom. So I don't want no road, right there by my trailer. It's already there, But that's it.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Gerald Daylight. I own the very last part of it, 6 and 7 and 8, way in the back. And I have been taking care of that road for the last 12 years. And now he's wanting more land. That's not going to happen.
All right, thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to comment at this time?
Good evening, Commissioners. Appreciate your hard work and your volunteer work. A couple of things. Undoubtedly, there's a misunderstanding somewhere. These people think that they're having to give up more property. They're not having to give up no more property for a road right away. They're beyond the lot that I'm buying. You're asking for 60 feet of road. I'm giving 60 feet of road to a road that will never be a thoroughfare. I can prove it to you. It parallels George Lambert Road by 500 feet. There's New River Canal on the south end. There's Black Bayou Canal on the north end of this 1,500-foot road. It'll never be a thoroughfare. There's provisions in the regulations where if you can prove that it's not a thoroughfare, you don't need 60 feet. I'm going to give you 60 feet because I can do it. I'm not asking anyone to maintain the road. I'm going to improve 500 feet of the road myself. So undoubtedly there's a misunderstanding that they're not being required or asked to give up any more servitude, none whatsoever. Just last year, within the year, this same the lot beyond me was approved by the commission for 40 foot, and I knew that. I could have asked you for 40 feet to yield 40 feet. I'm not. I'm going to give you 60 feet, and I'll eat it. That's fine. But there's undoubtedly some misunderstanding on them thinking that they have to give up more right away for the road because they're beyond me. That's all I got. Unless
No, but
Okay,
you're
thank
right. You have met the requirements of the new ordinance. That's what you've done. It doesn't affect them at all, but it's a new ordinance that we just recently enacted, and you have met it.
Thank you.
Just one, hang on.
Okay.
One.
Hi, I'm Melinda Becknell. I own the property across the street from him. I have 8 acres all the way. All of those people live on the other side of the gravel road. I own 8 acres on the right side. I'm not sure what he's trying to do. Jerry Savoy. I don't know what A and B is. He bought one piece of property. I don't know if it's an acre. It's across the street from our property. He said something about having the road, I don't know where he's gonna get the extra property to make the road wide enough, but I'm not giving up any of my property for that either. I don't need the road. It doesn't affect me. He says he needs more. He's gonna give up 60 foot, but I don't know where the rest of it's gonna come because his is not on the road. You have to get onto this Irene Delat Road to get to his property. And if he gives up 60, where is the rest of it from his property to Robert Road gonna come from? I don't know. But it's not gonna come from me.
You want to ask something? Yeah. Ma'am, you've already had your chance. Okay.
Just as a point of clarification to everybody, what the applicant is doing, the survey shows a 40-foot servitude of passage that goes across his lot going north-south. Within his lot, he is offering to dedicate an additional 20 feet. So at that point, it will be wider, but it's only on his lot. It's not on anybody else's lot. It doesn't affect anybody else's land. So I hope that that helps clarify it for everybody's sake, but I'd like to ask the applicant a quick question. Can you clarify the question on the width of the servitude? Is it
Yeah.
recorded as 40 feet or is it 20 feet?
Well, we didn't have a title abstract done, but the deeds that were provided to us, we tried to look to find out any information on any of the servitudes. Those particular deeds did not call off the servitude width. We did find a plat of some property to the north of Mr. Savoy's lot that did show a 40-foot servitude of passage. As far as if that 40-foot exists going out to Lot 1, I'm not sure at this time.
Huh.
But there is a survey plat out there with some lots further to the back that it's shown
Legal?
as a 40-foot.
Wait, let me just see if the public hearing's done. Okay. Anyone else wanting to comment from a public hearing? Sir, have you've already commented, right? No. Okay, I'm sorry. Just state your name, please.
My name Daniel Combs. I'm Sharon's husband. Okay, when we got the property, it don't even show a servitude on our deed, a 20-foot servitude. But this servitude deed has a 20-foot right-of-way that we had to give family members a right-of-way to get to their property. Now, if he wants to do something to 20-foot, I don't have no problem with that. But he's not gonna take any more land, and I'm not paying a blacktop road.
Okay.
You know, if it gotta go all the way to court, it'll go to court.
Could we see that, please?
You know, this is the deed that when he bought his land.
Who's he?
Mr. Savoy. And this is my deed when we got the land.
No. Yeah.
You got the wrong one? Yeah.
I'm not seeing what you said. Thank you. Okay, this I'm about to. And that's yours, right there. That's your.
Got the land. We don't have no problem with him doing something to the road. You know, we don't even live here.
If they only have a 20-foot servitude, they got a problem. It's 20-foot back. None of this is legal.
All right. Okay. I mean, we'll look at this. Can we hang on these just for a second?
In order to get them back.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else wishing to comment?
Legal.
All right. Wait. One second. No other one wanting to comment on this? Okay. Public hearing is closed. Yes, sir.
Legal. The subject property before us are these two lots, 2A, 2B. On the submitted plat, he's showing a 40-foot servitude. He's essentially complying with the ordinance by showing a 60-foot private servitude of passage. What happens to the north and south, whether it's 20 or 40, it's a civil matter, correct?
It doesn't matter that doesn't matter to us. That's not just what he's done. He sought the petition. He's seeking to comply with the ordinance.
Okay, understood. Thank you, sir.
Any other comments, questions?
I think in consideration of the fact,
And y'all want to see this, anybody? Okay.
I think in consideration of the fact that he's complying with the ordinance, I'm going to move for approval.
Julio Dumas, motion for approval, seconded by Beverly Barre. Any opposition? Motion carries. Thank you. Huh? Thank you. All right, item number 6, public hearing to consider following preliminary subdivision plan, Gateway Industrial Park, second filing, parts 1, 2, and 3.
My name is Taylor Gravois with CSRS, representing Superstar Holdings. Tonight we are proposing to construct a second filing of Gateway Industrial Park. The proposed second filing will be developed on an approximately 83-acre vacant tract of land that sits in between New River and the existing first filing of Gateway Industrial Park. The proposed second filing will have 31 lots, and we are proposing to build out the 31 lots in 3 phases of construction. The first phase will have 8 lots, the second phase will have 12, and the third phase will have 11. We are proposing concrete streets with curbs and gutters. The gutters will collect stormwater and route them to the curb inlets, and then the curb inlets will drain via subsurface piping to the detention ponds and eventually outfalling into New River. For sewer, we are proposing that each lot owner install a private individual treatment plant, and the effluent from each plant will be routed to the storm drain system, into the detention pond, and eventually into New River. We have submitted a preliminary determination to DEQ to approve this sewer outfall plan, and it has been approved. We are proposing to connect to Highway 30 in one location. We have had a traffic engineer study the connection, and he has provided a report that we submitted in the application package. The traffic report stated that we will need a dedicated left turn lane off of Highway 30 into the project, and that turn lane would be needed once 8 lots are occupied. We are asking that the parish allow us to build out 8 lots before having to construct a turn lane in accordance with the traffic study. We do also realize that this traffic connection is going to need DOTD approval, and we are going to submit for that permit whenever the time comes that we're ready to build the job. We have addressed the comments sent to us by the Planning Commission staff and an engineer review agent, and the action that we are requesting that you take tonight is to approve our preliminary plat so we can move forward with the construction plan phase of the project.
Thank you. Commissioners have any questions or comments?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the last name. What was your last name?
Gravois.
Mr. Gravois. How many lots did you say would be in your first filing? That
8 lots.
So you want to wait until that's finished before you build your turning lane,
The
right?
approach we want to take is based on the existing traffic. We can build out 8 lots. And when I say build out, I'm talking about the building actually being occupied, because that's when the traffic is actually generated. So the first phase has 8 lots when we're going to plat it, but it may not, all 8 lots may not get occupied. So what we're asking is to count the COs that are issued and not actually when we plat the lot, because that's when the traffic is generated, is in when the lot and building is actually occupied and generating traffic.
Okay, thank you.
Let's wait till after the public hearing.
Okay. Any other questions, comments at this time? This time, I'd like to open up the floor for public hearing. Anyone wishing to come forward and speak, please come forward, state your name, and you'll have 3 minutes. No one wishing to come forward. Public hearing is closed. Comments or questions from commissioners?
I'd like to ask, Ms. Ann Forte a quick question. Maybe she can clarify something for me. I read comment number 2, however, if the plat in the study is correct, existing Gateway Drive is to be included in the study and resubmitted. What exactly do you mean by that?
Let me grab my comment sheet.
It's under the traffic impact study comment.
Oh, under the traffic impact study?
Yeah, comment number 2.
When we first received the plat, you have to understand a lot of these comments are cumulative. So when we first received the plat, we were questioning whether or not the first phase on the plat drawing and the first phase in his traffic impact study were the same. But we got that clarified. So
does it need to include it in a new study, or this new study is no longer required?
no, the study was correct.
Okay.
The phasing on the sheet that we received on the preliminary plat originally was not correct.
Okay.
So they complied with that and, moved on from that.
Okay.
So it's fine.
All right. That explains it. Thank you.
On the turn lane, is it turn lane into the second entrance, first entrance?
Turn lane right now, your first phase is going off of LA 30. I mean, that's going to be a DOTD call. When he goes to get his driveway permit, and basically we say that, his traffic impact study shows that he's going to need to put a turn lane in there. But the reality is that when DOTD goes to approve it, they're going to either approve it or not, based on the driveway permit that he applies for. So
right, and I guess my other question is, the 2 entrances so close together, if you build this other one, I know you...
That, again, that's going to be a DOTD call. They're going to either let him do it or not.
They seem to be rather close to me, and I don't know where the turn lane will be dedicated into.
Right. And that's going to all be reviewed under the construction plan, so, I think it'll be fine at this point to approve this.
The condition for 8 lots, does it apply to phase 1 or phase 2? For the requirement for the turn lane in the study?
Again, when we first looked at the traffic impact study, we were reading it as a full build-out of that first phase.
First phase of the second filing.
Right, first phase of the second filing.
Yeah, that's the
again, that's going to be a DOTD driveway permit issue, and they're going to either approve it or disapprove it. I can't say for sure whether or not they will or not. That's really going to be a DOTD call. I mean...
Okay.
So if we say he doesn't have to do it until he has the 8 COs, are we saying that he doesn't have to go to DOTD until then?
No.
Okay.
As soon as he applies for a driveway permit to have any opening into his subdivision off of LA 30, they will look at his traffic impact study, and they will make an evaluation at that time as to whether or not they will approve or disapprove it.
Okay,
whether he occupies 8 lots or not.
okay.
That's
And
going
then they'll set a time frame also, right?
Oh, most definitely.
Okay.
Most
All right.
definitely.
Well, irregardless of whether or not DOTD is going to review this, that does not, we still, based on what's presented before us, if we need to place conditions on it or what, we still need to do that. Just saying that DOTD is going to review it and they can say yay or nay shouldn't be an excuse for us not to place conditions whether, that we need to. I'm not in favor of saying, okay, yeah, go ahead and build out 8 lots before you have to make any improvements. The improvements should be made before. We should have that. We should be able to see that before they start building.
And that's your call. If you want to require him to do that, based on your request, you can do that.
Thank you, Ann. Any other comments, questions?
Well, that's, that's my concern. My concern is the traffic on Highway 30. It's rather tough at times. I'm going to offer up a motion to approve, subject to the applicant obtaining all of the necessary permits or disapprovals from DOTD to construct the required left turn lane on Highway 30 prior to issuance of the certificate of occupancy for the 8th unit in the second filing.
Did I miss my chance to speak again? I'd just like to comment on something. I think I would like to clarify the 2 things that were brought up. The issue of the drives being close together. Before we even located a place for the new entrance onto 30, we've had some preliminary discussions with DOTD about site distance between the 2 driveways. And at the posted speed of 55, and I'm working from memory, I think we needed about 400 feet of sight distance for a car pulling out in order to see an oncoming car and that car to stop safely. In our preliminary discussions, we have enough sight distance, and DOT was okay with the drive alignments. So I understand your concern there, and I think we do have enough stopping sight distance for vehicles pulling out of both of those driveways.
That also included because right there, just on the other side of the bayou, you got a curve.
That's right.
Not a real sharp curve necessarily, but it is enough to
That's right.
hinder vision.
We also looked at that,
so that,
and I think there's in excess of 600 feet if a car be coming out of the curve, and the bridge guardrail would be a sight restriction. There's an excess of 600 feet and 400, and I'm working from memory, but it was in the neighborhood of 4 to 450 was necessary for the posted speed of 55. And maybe let me try and clarify something on the turn lane. We're not arguing that a turn lane is needed. Traffic findings prove that a turn lane is going to be needed at some point. What the traffic study says is that 8 lots can be built without a turn lane, and people can still take a left into the subdivision safely. What we're asking is, don't make us build those improvements until 8 lots are occupied. Obviously, you got economics that play into this. It's a very costly improvement. We're not arguing that we need to make it. We're just asking that we be allowed to safely build out 8 lots before the turn lane is mandated. And again, we will submit to DOTD. We've had some preliminary discussions, and we are aware that they do have a say in it because it is a state highway.
What is the occupancy of the first filing?
We're proposing 8 lots in the first phase.
No.
The existing filing?
The existing. Is it built out 100%?
I think there's 12 lots total, and it was done in 2000. And in 8 years, I think they've occupied 6 buildings. 6 buildings in 8 years, so 7. So, when you look at a project like this, it's very likely that it may take 10 years to build out just the first phase. And then, who knows, maybe by that time the state might 4-lane LA 30, so. Or maybe not. So,
Santa Claus is coming in a couple of months.
I mean, is a traffic study based on full 100% occupancy of the first filing and then the 8 for the second filing?
he analyzed it. He looked at the threshold of when the turn lane would be needed. The traffic study does go into the full built-out scenario, and that's how we came about with the needed storage in the left turn. But basically, we looked at the threshold, and the threshold is when you have 8 lots occupied, that's when you need the left turn lane.
All right. 8 of both filings? Or
8 of this filing.
okay, not really sure what the magic number is, but all right. Okay, we have a motion.
And that's basically what I'm saying, is that you just have to conclude that issue prior to you getting your certificate of occupancy in the 8th lot. So it ties it in with what your traffic report says.
That's correct.
Okay, I have a motion by Julio Dumas.
Julio, would you restate?
Oh,
My motion
Okay.
is subject to approval or disapproval by DOTD prior to issuance of the 8th certificate of occupancy on the second filing. The left turn lane needs to be constructed. Or, in the case of disapproval, not constructed. But prior to the issuance of the 8th certificate of occupancy in the second filing, the issue of the left lane needs to be finalized. It's either built, or DOTD, or there's official documentation that says DOTD says, no, you can't build it. We can't force DOTD to build it.
Well, okay, and I'm not trying to nitpick it. I'm just,
Right.
it sounds to me like it could be argued, though, we can build out 7, and it's still prior to the 8th.
Correct.
So that's
You
what,
can have
that's what
se-
you
yeah.
mean.
I mean, I'm planning-
You're going to allow them to go ahead and build out 7 lots before.
And fully occupy them.
And
But
fully
before he gets
occupy
the
'em.
certificate of occupancy, he can get a building permit on the 8th lot. But prior to get the occupancy, he's got to get that left lane issued, resolved. I don't want to get caught in a situation where I got a building that's built and DOTD's thinking about it, and well, I want him to know up front that he can't occupy that 8th one unless the left turn lane is either built or there's official documentation on file that says, we're not going to let you build it by the state. Which may happen. And I don't want to force him to come back to us because DOTD says you can't build it.
Well, I think my concern is the people that are building the buildings, they're also causing traffic on the road, and that doesn't take them into account. If we wait for the COs, that doesn't take them into account, although we have no idea how long that's going to take.
Well, from a practical perspective, when they come pull a building permit, they're going to have a copy of the plat with a condition on it, which is, so it's going to be noticed to them, and the building department will keep track of it, and Julio will show up and they'll say, sorry, Julio, you're number 8. You can't get your CO until the developer takes care of that.
Well, as far as how long it's going to take that Sherry just mentioned, didn't you just say that you only have 7 out of 12 occupied for something that was started in 2000?
That's correct.
So we
Right.
could conceivably be sitting here in 2018 waiting for number 8 to be built.
Right.
That is a possibility. And it all depends on the pace of the market, which is pretty volatile right now. So.
And that is correct. And between now and then, we may see this back as a residential development. You never know.
I doubt it.
To get it rezoned.
What happens in 5 weeks?
That's what I was going to say. You'd be looking at rezoning before that happened.
Like I said, between now and 2018, none of us have a crystal ball that clear. But given the circumstances that we have today, this is the best that I think we could do.
You don't think that should be the DOTD should approve that before they start? I mean, he doesn't have to build it then, but could you do it has to be approved by DOTD before they start?
Well, the reality of it from a practical sense is that when he files, for his driveway cut, for the second filing,
That's when he needs to apply for it.
he's got no choice. He's got to, DOTD is not going to, it's going to visit it at that time. So they're going to make a determination
But
with
they-
him developing the subdivision.
But won't they just be, they'll just be approving the driveway cut, they won't,
No.
No, they'll force him to do a full set construction drawing of what that intersection
Okay,
is going
so
to look like.
okay.
That's correct. And actually, let me, I guess, get back to what you actually said, the second phase, but we're proposing to connect to LA 30 in the very first phase. So right after we get approval tonight, next step we got to do is go down to DOTD, show them our construction plan, show them the traffic study, and they have to approve it. Because right off the bat, we're proposing to connect to LA 30.
Okay.
DOTD may very well tell him he's got to do it with the first lot. That's part of the cut, part of the connection.
So you're talking about the
Well, wait.
intersection with number 2?
That's correct.
You have an existing one, okay.
Let me just let y'all know, based on their traffic impact study, DOTD, and I haven't had any conversations with DOTD, but DOTD may in fact require them to put this left turn lane in now.
Right.
So, you know, that could very well happen right now. He's asking for it to possibly put off if DOTD doesn't require him to put it in now, but understand they may say, no, we're not going to let you wait.
And the problem is DOTD is in here. DOTD isn't part of the process, and we can't mandate it to DOTD. So the best thing we can do is tie it to the traffic study that we're basing the approval and the review on, which is why I picked the 8th lot.
Okay. I'll second your motion.
I'm going to offer, make a substitute motion to approve conditioned all traffic improvements are completed prior to any certificates of occupancy, or prior to any construction of on lots, build out of lots, I should say.
I don't know. Can you make a substitute before we, because we had a motion and second on it.
I can make the substitute motion even before a second is made.
Well, that I know.
You know, I can make it afterwards.
After second.
So,
Okay.
and all I'm doing is waiting on
I
a second.
second that.
All right, we have a substitute motion by Michael Marchand, seconded by Bob, and I'm sorry I forgot your
Lance.
last. Thank you, and all four
For what?
for Michael Marchand's motion.
Aye.
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 Hang on, where we had, okay, I got Bob and Mike. Mr. Dumas.
Nay.
Okay, I gotta get my list here. Steve.
Yes.
Okay, Beverly. Yes, Mike. Paige. And Sherry.
Against.
All right, so we have 4 in favor, 2 against. Motion carries. Okay. You got that, Stacy?
The recorder does.
All right, thank you. Item 7A, public hearing to consider following servitude revocation, Bond Loose subdivision, first filing, track A1.
Good evening. Brandon Acosta, GWS Engineering, representing Lamarck, Inc. Here asking for you to revoke the 7.5-foot servitude along the rear of lots 1 and 2 of Ascension home sites. I assume you have a...
Would you give us your name again?
Brandon Acosta.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did you know it's a requirement to have names and addresses on our plats?
Probably.
I went looking for this, and I had to stop and ask someone what lot number their house was at, because I went down Marcel, I guess that's Marcel Boulevard, and I couldn't figure out, well, I kind of had a good suspicion, but I wasn't positive where this little 17-foot access was.
Well, in our defense, we didn't do the plat. It's just an existing plat that we presented for a document.
But didn't y'all submit, Charles? Shouldn't they add it?
We don't have to do a plat. In that case.
They don't have to? Okay, I apologize.
It's okay, it's no problem.
Okay, I got another question.
Go ahead.
Do you have access to the Bonlou side? Because I'm just wondering, this is only 17 feet. How is anybody going to use that access unless they can go out through Bonlou's side?
No, the owner that we representing, he owns lot 1 and 2. If you look at the little plat, it has access to LA 42, which you can't really see from the plat that we're using.
Okay, I didn't know he owned 1 and 2.
Lot
Okay.
1 and 2 is what he owns, and the reason for the servitude is he wants to purchase that width on tract A1 for a little commercial development, and the servitude would dissect the property.
Okay.
And because nothing was in there, we got all the no objection letters.
Okay.
So he's going to buy the 7.5 feet, or is he going to buy the rear of track A1?
He is trying to purchase that width of A1 and do a development.
All the way to lots
He
31,
doesn't want
30.
to buy it if the 7.5 foot can't be revoked, because then he's got a piece of property that would be dissected right down the middle, basically. 1 and 2 are about as deep as tract A1, so
He's going to do a development? What kind of development?
it's going to be a commercial, office, whatever it's zone, commercial.
Crossroads commercial.
Yeah, Crossroads commercial.
Any other questions, comments? This time I'd like to open up the floor to public hearing. Anyone wishing to come forward, please come forward. You have 3 minutes. No one wishing to come forward, public hearing is closed. Any other comments or questions by commissioners? What is the wish of the commission?
Staff, this goes to the to Parish Council, correct? I'll make a motion to recommend approval of the revocation.
Motion by Julio Dumas for approval.
Second.
Seconded by Steve Barrow. Any opposition? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, public meeting for the approval of a simple division of property for Cleveland Bork property lots A1A, A1B.
James Falgu, representing Ms. Gail Mietz, following simple division, asking the commission for approval.
Comments or questions from commissioners?
James, did you see the recommendation, the updated recommendation from the staff?
Was this for the extended servitude passage?
Yes.
Yeah, it was extended.
Okay. No objections from property owners?
No, I mean, the guy who's purchasing the bottom lot is actually the son of Kermit Bart.
Okay.
So they're all family.
All right.
No objections.
Thank you.
James, do you have to add them to the plat and
Yeah,
revise?
their signatures on here. You can see. I don't know if this thing works. Yeah, it's been added in. There you go. You can see all of them signatures here. And down here has been added.
Okay.
Extend the servitude to past the property line 20 feet.
It's not on the one we got. That's why I asked.
Yeah, well, it was a last-minute change that came through, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Any other comments or questions? This time, I'd like to open the floor for public hearing. Anyone wishing to come forward and speak on this property, please come forward. You have 3 minutes. No one wishing to come forward. Public hearing is closed. Any other comments or questions by commissioners? What is the wish of the commission?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Paige Becknell, seconded by Julio Dumas. Any opposition? Motion carries. Public hearing grant approval for simple division of property, the Elijah Queen property, tracks B1 and B2.
Ronald Bennett with the R.O. Bennett Engineers, asking the planning commission for approval for the division of tracks B1 and B2 from Miss Elijah Queen.
Comments or questions from commissioners? Hearing none, I'd like to open up the floor for public hearing. Anyone wishing to come forward and speak on this property, please come forward. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Comments or questions from commissioners?
Move to approve.
Second.
Move to approve, Michael Marsham, seconded by Dudley. Any opposition? Right? Is that who did this? Yes. Bob, I couldn't see. Anyway, any opposition? Motion carries. Committee reports. Subdivision Ordinance Committee.
We had 2 ordinances to bring before you tonight to, I guess we're asking for a public hearing next month. Okay, and one, O'Neill, if you would read the one about the major changes, and there's a minor change in this, a word change that can be corrected before next month.
Now therefore it be ordained that section 20:203D of the Ascension Parish regulations as amended to read as follows. Changes of substantial nature are defined as follows. Any changes made by the owner subdivider subsequent to the approval of preliminary plat shall be submitted in electric format and reviewed by the planning commission chairman and his staff. The change suggested by the owner subdivider is of the substantial nature, which is defined as a change in the, it reads width, but I think that should be size.
Size, correct.
Of any lot or lots amounting to a reduction of 10% or more of the previously approved plat. B, redesign the subdivision of any portion thereof which would change the street pattern or overall layout of the previously approved plat. C, relocation or addition of any sewage treatment facility except as mandated by an agency with the legal authority to govern the change. D, relocation of any drainage facility except as mandated by an agency with the legal authority to govern the change. Then approval can only be granted by the planning commission and then only after public hearing is held for that purpose. If the suggested change is not substantial in nature, the approval will be granted immediately.
And this one, just to give you history, if anybody wants to know, this was done because a subdivision. There was a change made. The engineer, the parish engineer, okayed it. It was never, if I understand correctly, it was never written down, and there was just some question, and this would prevent that from happening again.
I understand it, but when I read this, I got to admit, I scratched my head because, you know, to me, substantial change in a subdivision, you know, a change in the size of any lot, is awfully minor. You know, I think of things that quantify major changes as a change in housing type, a change in density, change in intensity, a change in open space, change in street patterns where the whole nature of subdivision is completely different now. You know, but the change of...
A change in size is a change in density, could be a change in density.
You know, it could not, it may not be. I mean, you know, the surveyor makes a mistake and the parcel of land happens to be a bit larger, and all of a sudden the lots get slightly bigger. And no change in lots, same number of lots, the density actually reduces because the gross land is actually larger. But, you know, why are we making him come back for that?
And that is why there is the part of that A is amounting to a reduction of 10% or more from a previously approved plat.
Yeah,
if it's less than 10%, it's not. If it's no, talking about the overall amount of the subdivision. If it's 10% of the total subdivision.
It says here the change in the size of any lot or lots. To me, that's a single lot. So is it a single lot? Or
It could still be less
no,
than...
actually this came from the Baton Rouge zoning, if I remember correctly. It is actually a change in the width of any lot or lots.
Correct. So it would be a single lot.
It's still amounting, though, 10% or greater.
Right.
So a single lot in there wouldn't necessarily constitute 10%.
10% or greater of what? 10% of that lot.
Yeah, but what is it? Is
It's always, well, we've always looked at it as the total subdivision.
Well, this came from Baton Rouge. This isn't ours.
I know it came from Baton Rouge.
Doesn't make it right.
Right.
But
all I'm saying is that it needs to be, it's not clear to me. Are we talking about, you know, a subdivision's got 300 lots, and he changes one lot in the whole subdivision in size for whatever reason, and he's got to come back? I don't see how that could constitute a major
The way it
change.
reads to me is that if you have a 100-foot lot and you reduce it by 10% to a 90-foot lot, then it's got to come back. That's the way it reads, because
One
you're not
lot.
saying 10% of what? One lot. Or is it 10% of the lot count? I mean, the way it reads, it's not clear that you're talking about the density of the project. It sounds like you're just talking about the width of a lot. If it changes by 10%, it's got to come back.
I think it's easy enough to clarify that this evening.
Well, I didn't
Be the
say
total and it could be the total subdivision.
I agree. I just think we need to clarify it so when we come back, it is clear.
I think
We can do that. We can change it, not individual lot, but make it. We will have that changed before the next meeting. We will talk about it in our meeting this month and get that fixed.
I think that you could add several categories as well. Like in E, one of the comments was a change in the open space. If a developer does anything that changes an approved open space plan, that should come back, regardless of whether or not it changes the lot count. If he did something that affects the open space you guys approved, that should come back.
And we don't have any quantity on that. We don't have a percentage or anything.
If it changes.
Just any change on that.
Any change. I think in a situation like that, if on a subdivision he offers you a 1-acre park, and all of a sudden it reduces to 0.9 acres, you got to come back and bring him back. You know, he needs to explain that.
Okay, we will clarify A on that. And then the other one, O'Neill, you want to read that one?
Oh. This is 20.501, an application for approval of final plat prepared by registered land service shall be determined in writing to be delivered.
Submitted.
in writing to the planning commission at least 35 days prior to the time it can be considered for major subdivisions.
And
Changing from 21, it used to be 21.
right, and I think this is a housekeeping issue, isn't it, Mike? You had brought this to our attention?
Yes, the preliminary plat, the time length of submittal for that is 35 days. So all we're doing is going 35 days for the final.
Calendar days or working days? Calendar?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that you hold a public hearing on this next month with the change of the word determined to submitted, and for purposes of clarity that you add calendar after the word days. 35 calendar days.
And then do we need to go back and change the other one to calendar days also? Because I don't think that's in the ordinance for the other one.
It shouldn't be calendar days if the other one doesn't say calendar days.
Okay, well then strike that one.
It's always been treated as 35.
Okay.
Second.
All right, is that just a motion for the,
For this one.
both of them? Not the first. First one's you're gonna revise
We
and
will
then come back?
revise before the next meeting, correct. This one will be for public hearing for the next meeting.
Okay. Motion by Julio Dumas with revisions to the document, second by Steve Barrow. Any opposition? Motion carried. Thank you, Sherry. Strategic planning? Any? One? Okay, item number 10, adjourn.
Motion.
Motion to adjourn. And zoning will convene in 10 minutes.